Mamie belle, la moustache et la capucha. Sito patamilo, milata katiki punetika. Sito patamilo, milata katiki punetika. Sito patamilo, milata katiki punetika. Sito patamilo, milata katiki takatiki. Sito patamilo, milata katiki punetika. Sito patamilo, milata katiki punetika. Sito patamilo, milata katiki punetika. Mamie belle, la moustache et la capucha.
What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show, and today I'm actually done. I'm out of the lab. I scouted all these players. Man, I tell you, now I really understand why teams have a scouting department and not just a scout, because it takes a lot of going over film and stuff like that that you just aren't aware of when it comes to like actually looking at small school guys, big school guys, and everything like that. So this was a very long one for me, and that's what she said. But I've also was scouting XFL players, some of the USFL players, because their rosters and the players that are going to them is starting to come out. So I've been reviewing a lot of film and tape. So I apologize, y'all, for coming back so late, but I was really on my homework this year. And so today's video, I'm going to really focus on the draft versus free agency. With the eve of free agency coming up on us, there's a lot of stuff that I'll have to say. It's not a good year to be a free agent this year. Now, it depends on your position. Now, I'll say this. If you're a free agent wide receiver, this is your year to be a free agent, because there's not a lot of superstar talent in this upcoming draft. I mean, I like Jordan Addison. I think that he's probably the best wide receiver in this draft, especially when you talk about him going from the Pittsburgh offense to that USC offense. His transition and ended up being kind of like the number one for both offenses. I have to say he's probably the best wide receiver talent in this draft. But this year, if there were a lot of wide receivers that were free agents this year is the year to be a free agent, because there's not a lot of stuff coming out in the draft this year in regards to wide receiver. Especially if you're a tall wide receiver. A tall wide receiver will really get a lot of attention this free agency. But then you got the flip side. And that flip side is that offensive line draft, this offensive line draft and the offensive line free agency. I can see a lot of teams releasing guys because they have an opportunity to draft a younger guy and have him under contract and, not blowing out their salary cap right now. So a good example of that is the offensive guard. The offensive guard and center position in the draft is stacked with guys. Stacked beyond stacked with guys. I mean, you're talking about, even when it comes to center, you're talking about the first ranked center and maybe the 12th rank, not the 12th, but maybe like the 7th ranked center. There's not a lot of gap between these guys, and they're all very stout guys. So again, to be an offensive lineman and as a free agent this upcoming draft season is not the good thing. It's not a good thing, because there are, like I said, there are a lot of offensive linemen in this draft that are NFL quality guys. They may not be the most elite. They may not be Pro Bowl worthy or All Pro worthy, but they will make an impact in the NFL and on their team. So again, like I said, this year is not the year to be a free agent, especially if you're in the interior of the offensive line. The secondary. This may not be the year to want to be a free agent in the secondary, because they have a lot of guys in the secondary that's coming out. And I'm talking about 1 through 10. You'll be getting, if depending on what system they go to, you'll be getting a quality corner. There were guys that I went back and had to look back over. I'll also say this: don't listen to everything that's being said about some of these guys, because Christian Gonzalez, I saw that somebody sat up there and said that he's now the number 1 ranked corner on the draft. Makes no sense. I understand that Devin Witherspoon was injured and he couldn't perform. I think he couldn't perform at the combine. Again, I don't put no stack in the combine, but I think that when he couldn't perform at his pro day, that became an issue. I will say this: if Devin Witherspoon falls in the draft, someone will be getting a top level cornerback, and that's just what it is. Like I said, the secondary, even at safety is not the safest place to be a free agent right now, because there's a lot of safety guys coming out. I mean, Battle from Alabama, Brown from Illinois. It's a ton of safeties coming out that are really good. Then you got Branch from Alabama as well, who's like a safety corner / type of thing, just a defensive back. So I mean, this is going to be a really tough time. I can see more teams not really participating in free agency as much as they want to. We're going to see a lot of free agents go for less money than what we thought this year. And I know that people are like, John, that's speculation. I really do. This draft is going to force a lot of guys to sign for less money, because this draft is stacked with guys. Like I said, a lot of these guys, they're not all going to be elite, but they're going to be quality guys. Like, this is a quality draft this year. And I from everybody that I've seen, there's a lot. They're going to find NFL players from the 1st all the way to the 5th. That's how many really good players that's in this draft. Like I said, they're not going to be elite guys, but they're going to be NFL starters and players in this draft. So yeah, it's a shocker. So, in regards to some of these other teams, like, let's just say, of course, my team, Washington, we only really need free agents at 2 spots. You think about middle linebacker, we need a linebacker, maybe an end, but again, there's a lot of ends in the draft. So I mean, you may not need one. You may not even need to go after one, because there's so many end players in the draft. Offensive line, again, just to give y'all an idea of how stacked the offensive line, the offensive line is in the draft. Washington could take Jawan Jones, the right tackle out of Ohio State, right? They could take him. Then they can follow him up by taking, I think his name is Luke Weiler, the center out of Ohio State as well. They can take him later, and then they can follow that up and take Chris Murray, who's the right guard out of who can actually play right and left guard. You can take him out of Oklahoma, and you will then have built like basically the right side or your left side of your offensive line based on just picking those 3 guys. And all of those guys are going to be available from the 1st all the way to the 5th. So again, like, offensive line, that's not the group to be dealing with when it comes down to it. And like I said, I know everybody likes this and all that, but this is not the one. And I've seen a lot of people getting released. I saw that William Jackson III got released along with another defensive back by Pittsburgh. There are guys out there that they're going to be able to get that's going to be stout players. So again, like I said, this is a very bad draft to be a free agent this year, because I think we're going to see more and more players. Like we're starting to see more players actually restructure their deals. We've never seen this many players restructure their deals, and I think that a lot of players are aware of what's coming out in this draft. A lot of players need to pay attention to what's coming out in this draft, especially if you're an offensive lineman that's getting up there, or you're an offensive lineman that has had injury issues. This is not the draft. The defensive back, same thing. This is not the draft to be playing around. Tight end. Tight end is loaded in this draft. I mean, absolutely loaded. I mean, even if you end up with a guy like Jake Bobo, who is basically a wide receiver, he doesn't really do tight end type of stuff. Like, he's not going to block and all that, but he's a receiving threat through and through. You talking about Jake Bobo, Mike? You could probably pick up Jake Bobo maybe in the 4th round, maybe in the late third, maybe 4th. Like, again, these are the draft is stacked. It is very stacked with quality NFL guys. So, like I said, we'll find out how this goes. But I mean, that's pretty much what it is. But yeah, it is what it is. My next thing that I'm gonna talk about is something that for fans of Chicago, the trade that happened where Chicago traded the 1st round pick to Carolina. I'll say this. I'll start off by saying this. I'm surprised that he didn't get much. And what I mean by that is very simple. When you think about let's talk about Washington. I'm sorry to keep bringing up Washington, but let's talk about Washington. Last year, Washington moved back in the draft from 11 to 16. They picked up a 3rd rounder and a 4th rounder in the exact same draft. Chicago, Ryan Poles traded the 1st round pick in this draft that has probably the 2 most accurate quarterbacks I've seen in a long time. Well, not in a long time, but these 2 guys, their level of accuracy is undeniable. He traded, he basically, so what he got was he swapped 1st round picks. So they go from 1 to 9. That's a huge drop off. They pick up a 2nd round pick, and it says 61st. So I'm not certain. I think that's the 2nd, but they pick up a 2nd round pick. So they're picking twice in the 2nd round this year. Then they pick up no. Yeah, so they pick up so they picked up, they swapped first. They pick up a 1st for next year. They pick up a 2nd rounder for 2025. They also get the 2nd. They also get Indianapolis's 2nd rounder for this year, and they also got DJ Moore. Now, for you Chicago fans, this trade can either be very good or this trade can be very bad. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to start out with the good. Now, with the good is based on a lot of things. So say come next year, say they're able to get quality guys in the 2nd round this year. And they also get a quality guy in the 1st round this year. Next year, if Carolina is bad and Chicago is also bad, you're talking about these guys are going to have 2 1st round picks in the first, let's just say 15 picks, right? That comes off as a very good deal, especially when you're talking about a draft where the quality of the player that's going to be coming out is going to be very important, because you're talking about the quarterback class is going to be big. You're talking about, when you think about Caleb Williams, Drake May, and my man from out of Washington, I can't think of his name right now, but again, You're talking about that's quality, and the tackles that's going to be coming out next year are very high level tackles as well. So you're going to be getting some very talented players in that draft. Again, that would make sense, and that 2025 second round pick won't even matter, right? Here's the bag to this. Let's just say, which I do honestly feel will happen, Chicago has a successful season. So now Chicago picks at the bottom of a top-heavy draft. Then, not only that, Carolina has a successful season. And now your picks go from in the top 15 to now 17 and below. Especially with Carolina playing in that NFC South where they might actually make some noise even though Derek Carr signed with the New Orleans Saints. That is where those picks can get really ugly, and Ryan Poles can be like the fall guy for the Chicago Bears. Because again, it's different if you are able to trade and go up and get better guys in this upcoming draft. But the fact that there's a possibility that Chicago will be good and Carolina could be good, that means next year these picks will be low picks. And not only that, all the quarterbacks will more than likely be gone by the first 15 picks. You know, I mean, like the quarterbacks, all the quarterbacks that you really want may all be gone within the first 15 picks. And if you're down at the bottom of the first round of that draft and both of your picks are down at the bottom, you're going to have a massive problem. A massive problem. And Ryan Poles will end up being the fall guy for that. So, like I said, y'all, I'm absolutely surprised that Ryan Poles, they said that he took the best deal available. It's hard for me to believe that was the best deal available, especially for the first round pick. But we'll definitely see how this goes. Like I said, man, it is something. This is going to be some off season for the NFL because we're going to see more moves happen as we get closer and closer to the draft, and we're going to see free agents actually sign bargain basement deals. So it's going to be some. We're going to see some guys actually get paid, especially at the linebacker position. A lot of those guys are going to get paid. A lot of the ends might get paid. But we're not going to see a lot of the secondary and interior offensive linemen get paid. We're not going to see it, y'all. And I'm sorry to burst bubbles, but that's what's going to happen. But that's what's going to happen. The last thing I'm going to talk about is this. I know I've been away for a minute, but understand I've only been away to make sure that I'm giving everybody very accurate information when it comes to evaluating and scouting these players. But just because I'm away, don't just jack my stuff. The other day, I heard somebody talking about doing a not mock draft. That's me. I was the one who came up with the not mock draft. I was the one who started the not mock draft. And I started it back in 2018. No, I think I started it before then, but in 2018, I presented it to everybody. And the fact that it's being jacked or people are taking it, acting like it's theirs, like, no. That's me. Not only that, I heard people talking about something, well, what the team will do versus what we would do. That was me too. That was me too. So, I'll just say this. If you're going to jack my stuff, just subscribe to my channel. Don't sit up there and jack it and just leave and all that. Understand, I don't even really pay attention to who's subscribing to the channel anyway. But maybe I will once I get to 1,000 subscribers, and then at that point, I'll be doing giveaways and everything like that. But understand this. Don't jack my stuff and not subscribe to my channel. Understand, I'm not mad at nobody. I'm not angry at nobody. I just don't understand why you would jack it and then like not subscribe. Because again, I subscribe to everybody. If I come across, especially everybody in our area or whatever, if I come across somebody's podcast, somebody's YouTube, I'll just subscribe just for the sake of subscribing. You know, because I want to support all of us that's out here working hard, doing what we can to bring everybody the level of content that we can bring to y'all. But don't jack my stuff and leave. Don't jack it and just leave. Understand that I get that a lot of people are reporters. I get that a lot of people may not have content when they're on the radio or doing whatever. I get it. But again, don't jack me and not subscribe to my channel. Just subscribe. It's just a click button right there. Like it if you want. Comment if you want. Because understand, I'll respond. And if you respond out of your mouth incorrectly, understand I'll respond to that too. But like I said, don't just leave. Don't just jack and leave. Jack and subscribe. And then at that point, I'll be fine with whatever y'all steal from me. But like I said again, y'all tell me what y'all think. How many of y'all feel that this upcoming season, should Washington or any of your teams, should y'all focus on the draft or should y'all focus on free agency? Me personally, I feel that Washington should focus on the draft and not necessarily free agency, because again, if you look at this free agent market, especially offensive linemen, defensive backs, this is not the draft to be playing around in. Running backs, this is not the draft to be playing around in. So tight ends, free agent tight ends are going to struggle. They're going to struggle this upcoming season. Interior offensive linemen, they're going to struggle to get money this all season. So y'all tell me what y'all think. Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune. I will be back tomorrow for you DC Defenders fans. We're 3-0 in the XFL season, so I will be back tomorrow for you DC Defender fans. Other than that, this has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.